Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah and today's the start of a new vlog. It's hotter than heck out today. Oh my goodness. It's okay though. I'm not complaining. Trust me, I'm not complaining. It's really hot though. I'm just enjoying another outdoorsy walk during my lunch break, and I figured I would chit chat just for a couple minutes just to introduce the vlog and let you guys know what books I'll be reading for this vlog. So as I mentioned in a video previously, I am going to try to be reading some bigger books this summer, so probably won't have as many books to talk about, but I figured whatever audiobooks I pick up, I'll talk about them a little bit while I'm vlogging, just for fun. So the first audiobook that I decided to start for this one is a nonfiction. It's a historical nonfiction, and the title is called Killing Jesus by Bill O'Reilly, a history. So this book is meant to be not a retelling, but a story about the life of Jesus of Nazareth as he was documented as a man, and kind of the history of what we know about him and how it fits into the history going on at the same time. So I'm currently reading the Bible for the Greatest Books of All Time project that I'm doing. I'll leave a list below of the list that I'm working off of. But I thought it'd be really interesting as I've gotten into the New Testament with the Bible, just to kind of read or listen to a narrative that's told more in a novel type of book rather than the format that it's told in the Bible. So, oh, sorry about that. I got a phone call while I was recording. But anyway, so that's going to be the focus, like the main audiobook that I'm working on right now. And then I'm still working my way through the Amber Spyglass, which is really good. I'm really enjoying that. So The Amber Spyglass is book 3 in His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman. And it's kind of complicated to get into the overall plot, because this is the third book now. But overall, it's sort of like, it's a YA fantasy in a world that's similar to ours, but there's a few things that are different. And it's so interesting. It has different layers of adventure, of character growth, development, different world building. And our main heroine is this young girl named Lyra, she's about like 12 or 13 years old, and she's on a quest. Oh, it's too complicated. I'll have to do a little insert here about what this book is about, because my thoughts are kind of running wild. But yeah, so those are some of the books that I'm reading right now, and I will check in with you guys once I've gotten a little bit of the ways through them.
At World War I. I've seen the place. It doesn't look like much. Even the burial crypt has been turned into a...
So guys, we are here on our first camping trip of the season, and we're somewhat in a local place, not too far away. So I really only brought one book to read. I finished a bunch this week, but I am focusing on the third book in the His Dark Materials series, which starts with the Golden Compass and then goes on to the Subtle Knife, and now I'm on the Amber Spyglass. So this was a series that I started last year, and I read the second book last summer, and I just, have been wanting to get around to the third one, but finally picking that one up, and I'm just starting it right now, so I'll let you guys know how it goes. Hey guys, I thought I would check in really quickly and let you know how my reading is going. I'm outside on my lunch break walk and I am almost done with Killing Jesus by Bill O'Reilly, and I'm just finding it really easy to follow and understand. So the book is interesting in a lot of different ways. It's nice to read the story of Jesus's life more in a novel form as opposed to reading it in the Bible. And if you've never read the Bible before, Jesus's life is told through 4 different authors or storytellers, I guess you could say. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 2 of them were disciples traveling around with Jesus at the time, and then the other 2 were just followers later on after Jesus had died. So the Matthew, Mark, and Luke Gospels are kind of tell the same story. So you're just getting like a little bit different perspective through each one of them, but they all cover Jesus's life. Most prominently, the couple years that he was actively teaching his message to people. So this story kind of opens up with the major historical events that were going on during the time of Jesus's birth. It touches upon the rulers at the time. It talks about Caesar, he's in there. So it talks a lot about Rome and the Roman Empire and all the people that were doing their thing at the time. And it was cool to see where it all sort of fit together, because sometimes it almost feels like the story of Jesus just happened in its own little bubble, and we forget that there was the rest of the world happening at the same time. I think it was really interesting. I was very into listening to this, and it was really interesting to read it, to listen to it at the same time that I'm also reading the Gospels and that part of the Bible. And whether or not you believe Jesus was a real person, I personally do. I believe he was a real human being that lived during that time, and he was just extremely enlightened. He had a very wide and open perspective of the world and the universe around him, and I think that his message was really just about love and hope and belief. Asking and you will receive, and there's so many cool things like that I can take from the Bible and from reading this that I can really resonate with. And I don't resonate with all of it, and that's okay, but I think this book in particular is just a nice look at his life from a perspective that isn't super religious, but you can tell that the authors are taking all of it from the Bible. I mean, there's really no other historical texts that have mention of Jesus. And it's interesting to think about, because at the time that he was alive and doing his thing, he was pretty inconspicuous. I mean, he was just teaching to this small area. And so there really isn't a lot of historical, accurate, probably documentation other than the oral history that we've gotten from the Bible. There's so much more about the Roman Empire and the leaders at that time, because they had historians like writing down every word, and of course that's all from their perspective too. So anyway, I think that the story is great. When they get to the part about the death and Jesus' crucifixion and everything, I thought it was handled pretty well. It wasn't overly graphic. It ain't no Passion of the Christ, thank goodness, but it did get into the biology a little bit of what happens when that type of death occurs, the history of the crucifixion. That's always hard to read, of course. And then it did do it's doing a nice job of following up on what happened to Pilate, what happened to some of the disciples based on the historical evidence that they had at the time. So overall, really, really enjoyed it. If you want to read something about the life and history of Jesus, you might really enjoy this. But I would say go into it knowing that it's not going to be a totally historical account, because it does feel like it mirrors the Bible very closely. Although I think they did a good job of separating some of the mythology out. I mean, they do still talk about his healings and his teachings, but it doesn't get overly preachy, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Going forward, I think the next audiobook that I'm going to listen to is going to be one of the banned books. And this is also going to be for Pride Month, which I didn't get to do much Pride reading last month, but it is July now, early July. So I think I'm going to try All Boys Aren't Blue. I just saw a Venn do a review of this and it looked really interesting. This is by George M. Johnson. So I think that'll be the next one I try. I'm still working my way through Clarissa. It's really good. And of course, still working my way through the New Testament of the Bible. So those are the two big books I'm focusing on. And then I'm just trying to squeeze in some audiobooks as I go. But I'll check in with you guys soon. Hey everyone, we just got to our campsite and we really lucked out because a site had become open just as we were pulling in. So we grabbed it. All right, guys, so after 2 long, hot, humid days of softball and we won the championship tournament today, we finally made it to the beach. And it is about 8:30 at night, but I'll take it. It's so calm and peaceful, and this is our first time in Cape Cod, and it's really beautiful. Just wanted to share. Okay, it's our last morning here. We're gonna pack up the camper when I get back from my walk and head back home. And this was a fun little trip. I can't believe that we won the whole tournament. Our little team from New York came in and we won, and it was really fun. The girls played amazingly well. They did so well. And I didn't get as much reading done as I would like to. I didn't crack open Clarissa or the Bible at all. But I did get a little bit of reading done with the Amber Spyglass, and I'm so impressed with these books. I just feel like they have really intricate, elaborate plots, but they're fairly easy to follow. One of our main semi-villains, I guess you could say, is Mrs. Coulter, and I kind of am kept guessing, what is her real motive? The way he's telling the story, it's tough to figure it out. Is she going to make a turn? Is she going to have a redemption arc, or is she just going to be mean to the end? So I like that, and I love the characters. I love the world that they're in, and the world building keeps changing as they enter these different worlds they can pass through. And so it's really interesting. So hopefully I'll finish that book this week, but just wanted to check in and say we had a great time, and we're heading back home today. Hey everyone, oh my gosh, I just have to share, it's a beautiful summer morning here on the farm. It's pretty early still. It's around maybe 6:30, and because it's been so hot lately, I decided to come out before work to get my walk in, just because the temperature's a little cooler, and I never regret it. It's always hard to kind of get up and moving, but once I do, I always really am happy that I did. But this field was recently hayed, and I love this time of year because after my uncle does the first cut, all of these gorgeous, it just seems like they pop up, all these gorgeous wildflowers just pop up. It's a ton of purple. What's the name of it? Chicory maybe? But pretty soon the whole field will be purple, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. There's some cows way over there chomping away. Birds are chirping. And I need to go into the woods right now and pick up my trail camera. It's been a while, at least a month since I've gone in there to get any, take the little card out and upload it. So hopefully I have some good footage. But I've been avoiding it because the trail has gotten really, really overgrown since the winter. And I have a little bit of a tick phobia. So I have my pants on and socks, and it's all been treated with permethrin. So hopefully I'll be okay when I go in. But I do have to go in and get it because I'm so curious. And it does make me sad to have to avoid the woods for so many months out of the year. So hopefully I can get over my little fear and just start enjoying the woods a little bit again. But it's crazy because in the winter months when I go in, it's so bright in here because this is a deciduous tree, mostly woods. And so obviously when there's no leaves on the tree, the sunlight filters in. But now that the leaves are full, it's really dark. So, okay, we'll go in and go get it. Look at that light. This is the same spot where I showed you guys the icy woods, that one video. It rained last night, so it's sunny out now, but you can hear all the rain falling off the trees. It's really weird. All right, I got the card. The battery's still over like 50%, which is amazing. I'm gonna go in a little further. Here's a woodpecker in the back. This is the coniferous little part of the woods. There's all hemlock trees. Okay guys, so while I'm out here, I guess I'll do a quick reading update to let you guys know where I am with the reading. Right now it's about the second week of July. It is the 11th, I believe. Happy birthday to anyone whose birthday is July 11th. But yeah, so I am almost done with the Amber Spyglass. I'm at about the 90% point, and yeah, this book it was so good. The whole trilogy in general was really, really good. The books, honestly, they kept getting better. I really enjoyed The Golden Compass, but I enjoyed The Subtle Knife, I think, a little bit more. And I think this one, the third one, might be my favorite. And it's crazy because before this, I really didn't even know it was a trilogy. I just thought I had only heard of The Golden Compass. So I believe in England it might be called The Northern Lights. Has a different title, but wow, I mean, it's so good. There's so many different layers to the story. Our characters have grown up a little bit, so it has a bit of a coming of age aspect to it. The writing itself, I really love. It's so well written for my brain, if that makes sense. Like as I'm reading it, it flows really perfectly. It's so descriptive. I can visualize everything. The world building is amazing because these characters travel between different worlds. There's interesting variety between each place that they go, and the relationship that's been developing between Will and Lyra is really innocent and beautiful, and it really captures that essence of like a first love in a way. So there's a tiny bit of a, not romantic, but just a really pure love that forms after being around somebody and like going through pretty crazy experiences and stuff. So as we're nearing the end of the book, I feel like something sad is going to happen. I just have this, they're alluding to it in different ways, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I do have a feeling that the ending isn't going to be all perfectly wrapped up and cheery. So that'll be interesting. I love how some of the characters from the original books are popping back in. Some that I forgot about, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're back. You know, their little storylines are kind of being tied up a bit, which is really nice. And I really enjoyed being in this world with these characters. It's a great trilogy. I really recommend it. I would definitely say it's more young adult than middle grade. There's some deeper themes going on. I don't know if my 12, yeah, I guess she probably could. Yeah, my 12-year-old could handle it. It does get a little dark in some places, but in the overall themes regarding organized religion might be a bit over her head. But it's one of those young adult books that I feel like can be enjoyed by any age group. It's not so focused on being that age. The themes within the book are so much stronger than just a basic story of characters at that age, you know what I mean? Like people that don't like YA, it just doesn't have that like general YA feeling. It has more of a fantasy story, like kind of like the Chronicles of Narnia, where that is obviously middle grade, but it can be so enjoyed as an adult, like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. So I loved my time with this book. It was a great reading experience. I'll definitely be rereading this trilogy again someday. I want all the books in my personal collection. I don't have any yet. I've just borrowed them. But overall, as it stands now, I've got 10% left. Hopefully we'll finish it today or tomorrow. And I really like it. It's so interesting how they use this, just the different perspective on God and religion and what the characters believe. And I don't know if this is banned or not. I can see how it could be, because there are some sections where they're like, God is dead, God doesn't exist. And so I'm sure some people would have a problem with that. But to me, it's a really interesting story, and I'm excited to see kind of how it wraps up and how it ends. It's not perfect, of course. There's a few questions I have that I'm not sure if I missed or just will ever be answered, but in general, really, really enjoying it. So I think for audio, so after I finished the Amber Spyglass, that's the last sort of physical book I had to finish before I started my big book summer. So after the Amber Spyglass is done, I'm going to be really focusing on Clarissa and finishing that up. And the Bible. And the Bible, I can just only read a little bit per day. So that's just going to be like a little bit per day type of book. But Clarissa, I really want to hunker down and finish it. And so that'll be that. And then for audio, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. I have a few things on my list. One that just came in. I'm not sure if I'm super excited to read this, but it's been on hold for so long. I kind of just want to give it a try. And this is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is a nonfiction book. I don't know if it would be classified as self-help or just like introspective. And I don't know if I'm in the mood for it. It got so much hype when it first came out. People were just like screaming over this book. So many women that I know enjoyed it, but I don't know. I think I might be a little beyond my own personal journey with it being anything super groundbreaking or new, but I guess I'll give it a try and I'll just DNF it if I'm not feeling it, because there's plenty more audiobooks waiting for me. So that'll be that. That'll be a nonfiction pick. And then I guess we'll go from there. Yeah, I haven't thought too far ahead in terms of what else there is to go, but we'll see. So yeah, that'll be the next clip. I'll talk about a little bit about Big Magic or whatever, if maybe I'll change my mind between then. So, yep, I'm going to go ahead and get back out of here and see what we found on the trail camera and get a little bit of reading done before I have to sign on to work at 8:30. So I will see you guys in a few. All right, guys, just checking in. I have a little bit of time to film, so I'm doing a whole slew of videos to try to catch up, but I wanted to just touch base with you guys on how the rest of the vlog and the reading has gone. So I did finish Killing Jesus, my audiobook, a history. I keep forgetting to add that history part because the name of the titles is awful. Anyway, I did really, really enjoy this book. I felt like the story was very smooth. It was nice to read about the life of Jesus as told in like a story form, as opposed to different clips and sections of the Bible. And I personally really enjoyed it. I really did. It, the section where he's arrested and captured and crucified and, tortured, it's always hard to read, but I felt that it was done graciously and not overly horrifically. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I would say I kind of want to get the physical book to have in my collection, but I enjoyed that. And I did start and finish, because this was a really quick one, another audiobook called All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson, I think his name is. And this was a book that I had recently seen a video on Ven's channel from Ven's Book Corner. And he did a great review on this. I remember Renee from Beyond Books had recommended this book a while ago as well. And it was a wonderful memoir. It was really good. It was narrated by him himself, and he did a great job reading it. I felt like the structure of the memoir was really good. So this is a memoir about this man. He's a journalist now, and he talks about what it was like growing up as a Black man, but also being queer. So I found it really interesting, beautifully written. It was fascinating just to see what his perspective was like and the challenges that he had growing up and how he kind of got over them and was able to be himself and be the person that he wanted to be. He identifies as queer. I believe his pronouns are he, him. That's how he referred to himself within the book, as a gay man. But if I'm wrong, I apologize if he's a they, them pronoun. I'll look it up and I'll put it here. But I did feel like it was very moving. It wasn't overly vicious or showy. I mean, there were some violent things that he went through, but it was told very graciously. There are some triggers on here. This is a banned book. It was banned for a couple different reasons, but the section where he talked about some abuse he had received as a child, it was difficult to read, but it was also done very, the word that I'm trying to use is escaping me. It was done with good insight and introspection. I mean, you can tell this man has done a lot of inner work to understand himself and understand some trauma in his past. And he wasn't acting like a victim about it, even though anyone that undergoes any sort of trauma, it has the right to feel that way. It's just that I felt like the book had a lot of hope in it. It had a lot of hope. There was a really nice quote within this book that I really enjoyed. I just want to share that real quickly. But he said at one point when he's talking about being a kid, understanding what it was like, but not really understanding what gay was or understanding himself, he had to hide certain parts of him. And that's so sad. As a kid, you just want them to be able to be themselves and everything. But he said, when you're a child who's different, there always seems to be something you can't switch. You can't say this, you can't say that. There's always something that must be erased, and with it, a piece of you. The fear of being vulnerable again outweighs the happiness that comes with being who you are. And so you agree to erase that something. And that's sad, but it's so true. I mean, dang, it's sad. It was a positive book. I didn't feel depressed while I was reading it. I just felt really educated and informed, and it really helped my understanding. I know the book wasn't written for me, but I still enjoyed it. So fantastic. And I think I'm going to end the vlog here and start a fresh one. I'm still working on The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman, which is the final book. So I just got to get a couple of these books done before I can move on to my big book summer. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.